All right, Ms. Chair, I'm ready when you are.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the slight delay, but I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we could go ahead and do the call to order and roll call.
Mr. Frederick Baer.
Here.
Carly Borchardt.
Here.
Mr. Gary Cecil.
Here.
Bryce Chiselholm.
Here.
Carol Crane. Absent at this time. Theodore Meek. Absent at this time. Council Liaison, Councilmember Taylor. Staff Liaison, myself, Abby Mayorga, present.
Great.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so very much. All right, we'll go ahead and open at public comment. So this is for items that are either action items on our agenda or off of the agenda. It can be no more than 3 minutes. And I understand we do have a request to speak.
Correct, Madam Chair. We do have one public comment form. Mr. Wolfgame and Jessica, if you can please go to the podium. You will have 3 minutes.
Hi guys, how are you? Happy Valentine's Day. So the reason why Jessica. And I'm Wolfgang. I'm sorry. I get nervous every time I come up here. The reason why we're here today is we actually just took over the lease for the space at 219 West 2nd Street. I don't know if you guys are all familiar with the space. One of the things that we want to do is first identify that we know the space has had a lot of issues for a lot of reasons, whether they be residents, other business owners, varying community members that just may have some issues with it. We recognize that. Our resumes are very long in nightlife. We've ran really big clubs, done a lot of really great things. Security has always been number one in a lot of our operations with those businesses. And we want to assure you guys that that's also number one in this business, especially because that has been such an issue in the past. The type of activities that have happened, the types of things that that space has been involved in, all of the issues that I'm sure many of you can speak to will probably all stem from the fact that what was happening operationally with that space was not conducive to what everybody wanted to see. Prior to us taking over the lease, we actually were able to see some of those operations firsthand, see a lot of those things that I'm sure you guys can attest to even further than I could. And I could tell you that I was incredibly unhappy and disappointed. So we have a lot of things we would like to address. We would also like to open it up and say how much we would like to have you guys come in and tell us what you guys would like to see as well. Jess will speak more to kind of our vision and everything, but your vision of that space in terms of how community members, other business owners, and people who are just, in the area may want to see that space prosper and do well and be a safe space for all of everyone and everything.
So I have gone over a lot of items with trying to make this location just a little more top tier. So because I only have a minute left, I'm going to go a little fast. We're going to have a well-mastered cocktail menu where it caters to a higher price point crowd, which brings less riffraff. We want to respect the neighborhood, making it a safer and higher class area because there is that neon district that is popping up, all that new apartment complexes, everything. We want a really high class area for them to go to. We want to make this a tourist attraction so that it brings business and money to Reno, so that people from all over are like, wow, we want to go to Reno just to see this place. So that actually brings in money for small business as well in the neighborhood. We've also been teaming up with local businesses, food trucks, etc., because we do have that parking lot. So we want to utilize that as well during the summer, all that. We want to help everybody make some money. And we just want to bring light to the beautiful history of Reno because our building's built in the 1920s. So we want to definitely bring that to light as well. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Can I just say that again, I said to you personally, but just on the record, thank you for making the effort to come here tonight and also to speak to council and the Montage. We would like to get to know you better and you to know us. I'm sure we can work things out.
Absolutely, and we would love that. And of course, anybody is always welcome to come stop by. It's a
Yeah.
little bit of a mess right now, so we
We're
do
under
apologize.
construction, but doors always open.
Absolutely. So come on down, come say hi, and we'll be more than happy to, talk about whatever it is that you guys want to talk.
When are you hoping to launch it?
All depends on we just got pushed through to get our inspections. So we're going to be finishing up all of the renovations, getting that pushed through. Then we have to do the fire inspections. And then once that gets pushed through, it all depends on licensing. So if we can get like a temporary license or whenever someone pushes us through, that's the plan. So
Awesome.
It's up to you guys, and we're asking for your help as well to make the neighborhood better.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what you guys can do.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. All right. Any other public comment? I'm not seeing any hands in the audience. I'm not seeing any hands online. Please feel free to raise your hand if you are joining us via Zoom and would like to speak. Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, which is approval of the agenda. I get a motion for approval.
So moved.
Bryce Chisholm, second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Secondly, is the approval of the minutes. I'm hoping everybody was able to read those from December 13th, and I'll take a motion for comments.
I thought they were excellent.
Me too.
Everybody was named rather than just in general, so I really appreciated them. So I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 13th.
Great. Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Next item is council liaison report. This item is for general announcements and information only.
Hello and happy Valentine's Day. Kathleen Taylor for the record. And I get nervous standing up here.
Me too. I think we all do.
It's very intimidating,
It is,
isn't it?
It is.
I mean, if I just take my glasses off, then I can't see it. So I know it's been a couple months since we've met, and it did snow again today. So I was happy that we got to meet and we were out at Mayan. Abby's going to give us some updates on our next meetings and the locations of them in our joint NAB meeting. We're trying to get on the same schedule as RTC and MDOT to get some of that information. Wanted to give you guys an update that I did appoint. The council approved the appointment of Jeff Harvey to the board, and he will start next month. So we're excited about that. We do have a couple of new applications that I'm going to be looking at, which leads me into, we met with UNR, the government affairs manager up there, Austin Brown, and he is interested in working on some of the NAB things, maybe through the student aspect. So we might possibly have a NAB at UNR and maybe see about getting somebody from UNR on our NAB too. More to come on that. I do not have an update on the NDOT McCarran signal. It's kind of, I think it's still in design. That's going to take a little bit of time before it actually goes into construction, but it's something we're tracking. One of the things we did in the last couple council meetings is we approved some new sewer fees, which was pretty significant. We're going to be looking at storm water utility. You'll see that in your sewer bill coming up. So I'll have more information on that. But if you don't know about it, go to the website. There's more information on that. And then it's not in our ward, but it's very close. I just wanted to give you an update that the amendment to the CUP from Jacobs, that sign, it wasn't a sign amendment, but that CUP did pass through the Planning Commission. So I think those are all of my updates for right now.
Sorry, just to elaborate on that, does the Jacobs then come to council or no?
No.
The planning was the only approval they needed for the CUP. Got it.
That's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Any
much.
questions? Gary, come on.
No, right?
You're not going to let me down.
Would I miss an opportunity?
No.
Actually, first of all, I want to congratulate you on being appointed to the Downtown Reno Partnership.
Thank you.
And I'm so thrilled about that. It was the right decision. And have you had a meeting yet?
I think we have one this week or
Wow.
this week. And Former Councilwoman Jardin is doing some really amazing things with the DRP. I don't know if you guys are following it in the news, but a lot of good things are happening with the walks and the welcoming of businesses and getting people out there. So yeah, I'm excited to get started on that.
Great, excellent. I was going to say this at the last meeting, and it's a long time ago now, but I always want to take the opportunity to thank our police, and in this case, bailiffs, for what they did down in the park area just before Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if many of you remember that right now, but there was an incredible video where a guy was walking along with two very, very long guns dragging on the ground. And they handled that situation very, very well, I think. I hope everybody's doing okay with that in terms of administrative review. I haven't heard any more, but it was so encouraging to see them put themselves in harm's way. It was incredible.
Yeah,
So
the response was
that.
immediate. It was
It really
immediate and it was appropriate. So
And just with a related question to that, I noticed that for a while the West Street Plaza was barricaded off. It's back unbarricaded now. Were there any other plans to watch that area? It seems like that seems to be a magnet for trouble.
yeah, that's a really good question. I think we had a little bit of maintenance that had to be done. We put some signs up and stuff, and that it might have been part of the investigation, but it is on my to-do list. So any and all ideas are welcome if you have any. I'm very dedicated to making that something more than it is right now, especially as it just walks right into the river. You know, it's so iconic.
Yeah, with
And you
all
can go have a beer down at the tap house.
yeah, and the landscaping was done very beautifully there by everybody.
Yeah, last year that was really nice.
Okay. Final thing, we loved your newsletter. We hope the comments we gave you might prove helpful. I don't know if you remember getting them from us.
No, I do. I remember getting them.
Okay,
And
all right.
yes, thank you. Which reminds me, I brought some calendars, some little calendars, if you guys want them, over on the table over there. Just has our NAB meetings on there too. So for 2023.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for being here on Valentine's. All right, next item is the staff liaison report.
Good evening, everyone. Abigail Mayorga, Community Liaison for the record. I do have a couple updates. As Councilmember Taylor mentioned, I wanted to go over some meeting updates. So for March, as we all know, we wanted to meet with the county and have a concurrent CAB-NAB meeting to get a couple different updates and just see how they kind of do their process in reflection to ours. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the contact secured for Valentine's Day, which is, you know, to be expected, which is totally okay because we're still trying to get this done. So they have proposed if we as a Ward 5 NAB decide to go to their upcoming meeting and we can still have the concurrent meeting, that would be March 20th at the Verdi Library, 5:30. So it's not on schedule to ours. It would be a week or so, a little over or less than a week after. So it'd be on a Monday at the Verdi Library. So I just wanted to get your guys' opinion from the NAB members to see if we would like to go to them, as they did try to come to us and it didn't seem to necessarily work out, but we would be able to get that NDOT update, RTC update, and a couple other things as well. So.
And the opposition there would be that they do come to us, and that would be done on March 14th.
Correct. If
Here?
so we'd have to coordinate again
Okay.
based on that because their location, you know, our location is fluid, or we're looking to make it fluid.
Right.
Theirs is just more concrete. So
Yes.
it's up to you guys. I would have to connect with Alex, but I did want to bring that option to you guys in regards to maybe us going to them, as we did try for them to come to us and it didn't plan out.
Gotcha. Well, for full disclosure, I'm going to abstain from this decision. I'm going to leave it up to you guys since I'm actually the chair of the CAB
Yes.
as well. So
Yeah,
I
whatever
don't
you
know
guys
that
would
my
like.
opinion counts.
Would we be doing our monthly meeting there then?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not in addition.
No, not in addition. It would be at the same time.
Okay, it's fine by me.
That was, which date was that? The 20th?
Yes, which is a Monday.
Monday, okay. I just need to check my calendar with my boss at home, but
Okay, perfect.
yeah, I would prefer to do that, I think.
Okay, perfect. And I will connect with Alex. And in regards to future dates or future location for the NABs, I did want to let you guys think about this, but we will be going to the fire station. So if we, as we go to March to the county, April, fire station, and then May, potentially something with UNR depending on their contact. So, but those will all be solidified and updated in a timely manner. Perfect. So that's all I have for meetings. I did want to put out a notice for the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission. Applications are currently being accepted for the public at large representative to serve on the Northern Nevada Water Planning Commission. They're accepted for qualified individuals to serve on this commission. One individual will be selected by the Western Regional Water Commission to fill the position of the large member to represent environmental, biological, conservation, or public concerns. So if you know anyone or you would like to get involved, I can connect you with the right person.
Gary Cecil for the record. Regarding the NDOT and RTC presentation.
Correct.
Is that still up in the air? We're not sure when that piece is going to happen.
No, with us confirming that we are willing to go to them, NDOT and RTC will be there.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
that will happen on March 20th at the Verdi Library.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then a couple public engagement sessions that are going to be occurring here at the city. The final public engagement session for the Virginia Street placemaking study is going to be held here, City Hall, Council Chambers, and Zoom Thursday, February 23rd from 5:30 to 8 p.m. It's a presentation and open house. So during this session, there'll be a presentation in regards to the design and program recommendations inspired by research, community surveys, and input from the last public engagement session in November. There will be a survey following the engagement session that will be available on the website. So if you would like to participate, again, that date is Thursday, February 23rd from 5:30 to 8 p.m. here at City Council. Additionally, the micromobility pilot project, City and RTC staff will be holding a public meeting to discuss the results of the micromobility pilot project, as well as gather input on future micromobility in downtown Reno. So that will be held here and via Zoom Thursday, March 9th at 6 p.m. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you so much. All right, we'll move on to the business items. We have item B1, which is the appointment of the March 2023 meeting chairperson. Discussion and selection of the meeting chairperson for the March 2023 NAB. It does seem like it might be a little bit easier. I hate to toot my own horn, but it might make it easier just to have one person running the meeting since it will be both combined.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But it doesn't have to be. All right, Carly Borchard. Do we need to vote on that? I apologize. No, thank you. And then the next business item is development projects, which is B2. Looks like we just go right into it, which is going to be the first item, the Smog Place, B21. And this is going to have a presentation before us. While they get everything together there, I'll go ahead and read the request, which is a conditional use permit to establish an auto service and repair use for emission testing services. This is on the northwest corner of Vine and West 4th Street. It is zoned mixed use downtown, northwest quadrant, and downtown mixed use.
Alex, I see that you're on Zoom. Can you see the presentation? And when you're ready, you can present.
Yep. So if I'm not mistaken, I do believe your Gmail is up and not the presentation. And am I maybe not seeing that correct?
Give us a second, Alex. We can't hear you on our end.
Can you hear me? Testing. Hi, can you guys hear me? Hi, can you guys maybe hear me now?
Can you hear us, Alex?
Yes, I sure can. Can you hear me?
If you can keep speaking.
Hello, this is Alex Malm. Can you hear me? I'm here to talk about the smog place, West Reno. Anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me now? Hello.
Aren't you hearing us?
Hello, Alex?
Yes, hey, can you guys hear me?
So sorry. Technical difficulties.
No, all good. So thank you all. So I'm here with Josh Cook, who is actually the soon to be owner of the smog place, obviously with your guys' blessing. So currently right now he's leasing a space here in Reno, the west side here. Parcel number is 006-221-24. The first slide here is kind of where it's at. This is what the Washoe County Assessor shows. People who aren't super into planning or whatnot is probably seeing a lot of dotted lines and stuff that's not going to make a whole lot of sense. But thankfully, we've got another slide to hopefully illuminate where this is. If we can go to slide 2, please. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know if this was put in order. If we could get the slide where it's kind of showing the picture. There we go, right there, perfect. This is actually on the corner of 4th and Vine Street. I think people know the shopping center well. There's only currently one tenant that is there, and that's Domino's Pizza. Joshua Cook is looking to open up a 1G smog shop here in this location. If anybody is not familiar with a 1G smog shop, it is a test-only facility where, in contrast, a 2G facility is the standard garage. People pull in their cars. There's a lift there. Repairs are done. This is not what we're doing at all. It's a 1G facility, and I'm sure many of you people have seen these. They're usually operated out of storefronts or even in smaller, I'll call it shed type buildings. So this isn't necessarily a unique circumstance. Any questions so far? Sorry, this is kind of my first presentation, so I don't know if there's going to be questions throughout or if I should finish.
If you could finish, that would be great. And you're doing excellent thus far.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If we can go ahead and move over to slide 3. It's another topographical map. Perfect, right there. Yep. So I just kind of went ahead and zoomed out a little bit so everybody's familiar with the area and the local businesses that are kind of surrounding, hopefully where we're going to be at. There's a Jack in the Box. There's a McDonald's and O'Reilly's Auto Parts store, a Title Max, KFC, and then a Metropon. And then you'll see there just next to us, we're located right there, kind of in the corner of the building itself, next to Domino's. all these properties are the same zone as we are, MD, MWQ. So realistically, there's obviously a variety of businesses here, and we think we are not sort of tainting the area at all with what we're sort of looking at doing here. If we can go to the next slide, please. I went ahead and sketched out the tenant space as it currently sits. We won't be seeking a building permit. The space is totally suitable for what we're currently looking for. If nobody's been to a 1G smog shop, if we see here more towards the right-hand side where the cars come in, there are portable smog machines that would be wheeled out every morning and then, of course, wheeled in at night after business. There will be a small retail component associated with this space that's located in the front while people go get their smog tests, which typically last no more than 10 minutes for older vehicles, but as quick as 90 seconds for newer. People can come in and have maybe grab some window wipers. I'll let Josh talk to that maybe here in a little bit on what he plans on selling, but to me, it was general automotive supplies, wiper blades, windshield washer fluid, and some other small knickknacks, I'll call it. If we can go to the next slide, please. Perfect, thank you. We went ahead and just kind of took some photos of the building as it sits currently right now. Like I said, it's an unoccupied building with the exception of Domino's. The first photo there on the top left are the two stalls that we are going to have designated as our smog stalls, where it will be dedicated to us. We'll put the machines there every morning and then wheeled in at night. And the other 4 photos are just kind of to get the idea of what this building currently looks like right now. Next slide. And again, here are even more photos of where we're going to be located and how the building currently sits. Is there any questions at this time?
Questions? Yeah. Yes, we do have just a couple questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
First of all, I know that you were scheduled for our January meeting that was canceled. I know you've got the Planning Commission tomorrow. So thank you for being here tonight. Really appreciate you still coming to that.
No, thank you. Yeah, I believe the Boy Scouts had their Derby car race last month, so no worries.
I just in general, I think for the conditional use permit, you meet all of the findings, I think. I know the area well, and I don't see any issues with compatibility myself. I think you would fit in very well there. The only question I had for you is you did make a statement that you considered, but you did not do a traffic study. And I wasn't quite sure the reasoning why you didn't do that.
So in my opinion, and I'd have to look to see, I guess, the reason why you're requesting that, the traffic study is, to me, I mean, these smog facilities are everywhere around Reno. They take a maximum of 10 minutes, and I reviewed the verbiage myself, and I'd love to sit down and maybe talk with you or have a phone call with you to see maybe more of your concerns with having us there compared to any other business that would already be that would have been occupying this space previously. I know that didn't answer your question, sir.
Alex, we actually have Brooke here, and he's standing in front. So let's maybe let him address. He's with the planning department.
Hi, Alex. My name is Brooke Oswald. I'm a planner with Development Services. And just to speak on that traffic study. So the one, we have an existing shopping mall, right? And so those traffic volumes were anticipated when that initially came in and how that came through. 2, we're looking at a relatively small use that doesn't have a traffic number that would actually trigger us or have a concern that we would trigger a study or call a study on that.
Thank you for that clarification.
Brooke, just a follow-up on that. Was there any consideration given to any of the traffic volume related to the Glow Plaza? Especially if this is going to open at weekends when, I mean, they've got a whole slew of concerts and things coming up all the way through the summer.
Yeah.
I just wondered.
Yeah, certainly. So certainly we'd anticipate an impact at those peak periods during the Glow Plaza during their events on that. So that isn't calculated directly with this. We actually see that although some of those are going to be day, there's some evening events where we're going to see that off timing of events and traffic happening there. Additionally, the Glow Plaza will have a management plan as they're looking at their traffic and that management of their due. So we have kind of a safeguard back on the Glow Plaza that way, and we don't anticipate it's really this traffic volume will have that impact on the Glow Plaza, or vice versa, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And finally, I think I'm going to become one of your customers come June.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Tonight.
Thank you guys for coming to the NAB. I don't think there's any other questions. I don't see any hands. Oh, excuse me. We do have one more question.
It's not really a question. Bryce Chisholm. I'll just say that used to be the Sportsman, and there was like a bar that was in there for a long time, and the Smog place isn't really going to cause much traffic difference than any of those places. So I have no concern, and I'm glad to see the building filling up.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that sentiment. All right. Thank you guys for being here. I think we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item, which is, thank you. Item B2.2, and we're going to have our presentation first from Brooke Oswald to kind of give us an overview of what we're looking at.
Once again, my name is Brooke Oswald. I'm a planner with Development Services. Just to go first, I think, Clerk, if you can put up just a general map of the site, I think it'll be easier because we can often get uses confused with requests, the zoning requests. What are we looking at here? And so we thought it would be better if I just explained the process, what we're looking at, and how we move forward. So what before you tonight is it's a zone change request. That zone change is going from single family, 8 units per acre, or you'll hear it called SF8, to public facility, or it will be called PF. So public facility, so our SF8 is a residential zoning. Looking at that public facility, that could include institutions, schools, churches, any of those public utilities. Some of those we'll see under that PF zoning. So this particular use, the First Congregational Church, has been established church for several decades now. They've worked under that SF8 zoning, which the church is allowed within that, and they have the use that's been brought through that. What they want to do now is to bring that underlying use into conformance with PF zoning. That also allows them some additional. They'd like to add the use of a daycare facility within that. It's not allowed in that SF8. It would be in the PF. Any future development or such would probably will require further discretionary review. So we'd have it seen in front of Planning Commission when they actually propose that use. Or we'd have an administrative review through a site plan review that staff's looking at that. What we're doing that for is that residential adjacency that we're having there. We're making sure that those uses are compatible so we'd be able to apply conditions, mitigation, or other things at that point in time. So once again, what's before you is that zone change, looking at going from that SF8 to that public facility, which is more in conformance with the underlying use and anticipated continued use of the property.
Great. Thank you very much. I'm just going to jump right in, if you don't mind, and say I was able to review the packet material of the different uses and the history, and I really appreciated being able to get a little feel for what's established there and being the use that's currently there. Could you elaborate just a little bit more, since we have this map up on the residential adjacency? It looks to me just from the map that they're kind of set aside and kind of independent where they're currently located.
It is a unique site. And so they are at the terminus of Sunnyside Drive. Where we're looking at that residential adjacency is directly to the north of the project. So that you can see the small residential homes that run along Royal Drive. They back up to the church property. And so any any future sort of the daycare use or bringing in that use will trigger some sort of oversight that we're looking at that, making sure that's used. Should be noted, this is not only a church, it acts as kind of a community center, different events or other sort of, they offer it up to from AA to other organizations to be able to use this facility. That is sort of the term. So we are looking at that direct, those are the rear yards that are abutting onto the First Congregational Church property there.
And you guys have done a thorough review from the planning aspect, is that correct?
This is currently, Leah Brock is the planner on this. She is doing the review. We're currently working through that review process, and she will, provide the staff report. We're anticipating this will go March 1st to Planning Commission. So this is a multi-step process. So our Planning Commission is a recommending body. So they will recommend to our city council if to approve or deny the zoning request. Then it will go to city council. We'd anticipate, usually that's about a month later by the time they get the decision and we get a staff report in, we're at council about a month later. If they do that, it's an ordinance. This will be an ordinance, a zoning map ordinance. And that requires 2 readings. So it'll be heard once, and usually it's heard 2 weeks after that. So there's 3 more public meetings. So there's obviously plenty of time for additional public comment, public input, and any of that can happen at that time.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I do have a couple more questions. Do you guys have any?
I would just say that Bryce Chisholm, the church came to us a few months back when they were applying for the daycare or whatnot. We kind of went through that, the balls maybe going into the backyard of the neighbors or whatnot. So to your point of the houses up against the church, but this seems to me that they're just changing to the public facility, which would be the more correct zoning for their use, actually. So.
It is more appropriate zoning. There is, what they do is they had a conditional use permit that allowed them to operate a school. And so that was for that residential adjacency they were in for there. And so at that time that was conditioned. What they found is they're looking at the daycare, and this is a daycare use is something we see associated with churches, people going to church or for their congregation to be able to have that service and provide that service. So this is not a use we wouldn't anticipate with the church.
No, thank you for that clarification. This is the same church as we saw a couple months ago, several months ago now, I guess. And I think the only concern that had come up was kind of the driveway or the access in and out. Has that kind of resolved itself from the past use that they?
Well, this is zoning, so we're not looking at specific site. We are really looking at the zoning. That would be through those other discretionary, so that pedestrian access, the safety, those aspects will be looked at through a site plan review or as was done through this other conditional use permit.
Okay. It always gets a little bit fuzzy for me, to be completely honest with you. Yeah. It's hard for me to say, yeah, let's change the use. Oh, but we didn't really anticipate the traffic counts or the different things. So
and that's why I want to be very specific. This is zoning, because zoning, yes, that is daycare, but that could mean several other things too, right? Once you change a zoning, it modifies those underlying uses that are permitted. It underlines the development standards. It underlines, or it changes several things. So that's what staff looks at, is what is the difference between what we have now? What impacts do we anticipate? What upgrades would we anticipate with future development? What is the most dense or intense development that could happen, and what does that mean, right? Mm-hmm. So that's really why I wanted to make sure that we're looking at the zone change and what that zone is versus the use or the requested use. Because to be honest, they often change, and development cycles go in and out, and you've got to be comfortable with the zoning and not the use.
I appreciate you being here tonight to kind of give us that overview and tune us into exactly what we're looking at. Yeah. Did you have any questions? Sure.
My colleagues have asked the right questions for me, so they've kind of solved them. Brooke, I appreciate you being here tonight and your explanations. I just wondered, Abby, did we have any public comments from anybody regarding this item?
Abby Mayor, Community Liaison for the record. So I haven't received anything just yet in regards to it. I do believe that it was noted that they have been receiving, but I don't have that on me.
So I was notified that city staff, we have started to receive public comment on these. I have not read through them. Those will be incorporated within the staff report or available through, forwarded onto PC and available through the staff report or that process. So.
Do you know the content of those in general?
I think there's some in support, and there has been, we had some opposition or something in the past, but I can't speak directly to what the content of those at this point. Yeah.
Do you know, has the K-3 school actually started?
The applicant is here tonight, and they can speak a little bit more about that use or their intended use, and maybe that would be appropriate for them to come up and speak on that.
And just final question. When I reread the application, the original application for this from the folks at the church, it says here that people are looking for a quality preschool, so that preschool age children can attend school at the facility. Is that a daycare, really?
And they can specifically talk to that use a little bit more. So we would, if it's prior to that K service, that would be, and they may have it anticipated to be used or to expand that service. So I think what they're really looking is just to make sure they're in compliance, have the proper licensing and everything to allow them to offer those services to the community and their congregation. So, but they obviously can speak much more of their intention and how they would intend to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
To hear from the applicant, have them. Let's go ahead and have them come up and speak a little. Hi.
Hi. Good evening. And thank you for coming out on Valentine's Day. And Mr. Chisholm was right. We were here last summer to get a conditional use permit to operate the Desert Peach Montessori School. Due to a series of construction delays, we were unable to get the school open. In that period of time, we, creating a sign-up list, with me is Tamara Hopkins. She's the operator of the school. When they put up a sign-up list, the sign-up list was basically for preschool, not for K-3. So that's when we decided to support their request to come back for rezoning. Our church has been in operation since 1871. We've been on the current location since 1957. The church itself and the the education building were built before any of the neighborhood was built. So once the conditional use permit was approved, you endorsed it and the Planning Commission approved it. Then we had an arduous process of bringing the property into compliance with city code now, because it was built before there was a code. And so there was a lot of things. And with those requirements and also the construction delays on the part of the contractor, we finally are now able to open that side of it. But it turns out the real demand is for the preschool. So you specifically asked a question, is it a daycare or is it preschool? And with that, I'd like to have Tamara address that question for you, since she's the one who's going to be running it.
Great, thank you so much.
Hi, Tamara Hopkins for the record. Hello
nice
again.
To see you again.
Good to see you all too. So daycare, childcare, preschool, they're all the same words used by different organizations to describe children who are not of school age. So, yes, we would be a preschool or a Montessori. So we take school very seriously. We wouldn't be a daycare, but it depends on the organization that you're talking to and how they categorize that age group of children. Does that answer your question?
Kind of.
Yeah.
My wife was in education for decades and decades, and I showed her the definitions, the educational facilities in what's called Chapter 18, and she couldn't tell whether it was really going to be if it was a school, then as I was looking at it, I didn't think it needed to be a zone change. Well, but if it's childcare, then it definitely does need the zone change. That's why I asked the question.
Yes. And so, yes, I would definitely consider it more of a school. We're not planning on being open 24 hours or anything like that, like some daycares could be. But that will all be decided in planning or an administrative meeting.
But you'd think you'd have a curriculum and something that's state approved or something like that you're working to, or?
Yeah, we go with the Montessori curriculum.
Okay.
It's international. I was trained 3 years. I have my master's in early childhood education from Loyola University in Maryland. And yeah, we have an extensive curriculum. And we're hoping to offer this sort of education that's usually not for marginalized populations, offering it to marginalized populations.
For what it's worth, it sounds like a preschool to me.
But we do plan on having older children there as well. You're welcome.
Bear for the record, Montessori schools usually help kids with special needs, and a lot of times in the community there isn't an outlet for them. So for that.
Yeah. Montessori schools are very inclusive, that's for sure. Different educational delays and disabilities definitely can be a transformative thing for a child to attend a Montessori school.
And so when a parent notes this in their kid before they get to kindergarten, they're able to start getting them adjusted to behaviors and work with the system to address their needs.
That's correct.
A lot of people don't know this about Montessori schools. They're a very, very good resource for parents that there's not a lot of them out there.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. And we do work closely with Principal Jessica Wilson at Elmcrest, just right down the street. And the church has been working closely with Grace Warner Elementary, another neighborhood elementary school. And we do have partnerships with them to find families who could benefit from our services within our community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll just go on the record and say I supported you guys months ago. I loved your guys' presentation when you came the first time around, and I support everything that you guys are doing. Obviously, because of the zoning changes, I can relate. My house is probably as old as your building, so I know how all that plays out. But I think what I'll reiterate, which is what I reiterated last time as well, or mentioned last time, is just making sure that you have that outreach with your neighbors, being neighborly and making sure that we can address any mitigating issues is huge to me. So, you know, if the neighbors do have concerns, I'll hope that you'll reach out to them and address them, or have a community meeting so that they're able to be addressed.
Yes, thank you for that advice.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments, questions? We do have a couple public comments or potential comments. So if we could just have people come up and ask questions, if you guys don't mind, that'd be great. Hi.
Hello.
If you could state your name.
Reiner Mosner. I live on Royal Drive. I'm a neighbor of the church. They've been wonderful.
Awesome.
My only question is, are you using that lower building? That's the first question. My second question is there any potential for future construction on the property?
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here and asking the questions. It helps. Can we address those two questions?
I heard that I am hard of hearing. That's why you have the microphone up
Yes.
there. Thank you very
Okay.
much for that. So without it, it would just be lips moving and nothing else. But as far as the second half of the question, is there any future plans for construction? The answer is no. Our congregation at this point is barely able to support itself. And our congregation is basically made up primarily of educators, either currently working in the field or retired. And we support both of the local elementary schools through outreach program, and then support and sponsor the preschool. That's our interest in education. We're looking to serve underprivileged areas. So we don't have the money to do that, and we have no intention to do that. Our property was built in 1957. It's due for some significant repairs and upgrades due to the age of the building. And that's going to consume all of our available resources for the next decade.
So we can't say no construction, but just construction in regards to repairs and maintenance.
Yeah, there's nothing on the, besides being council president, I'm also chair of the Buildings and Grounds Committee. And I can tell you it's We have 11 people on the committee, and it's a full-time job for all of them just to keep up with the repairs anymore that are going on in the church.
And then the first half of his question, I apologize, you might have to refresh me there, writer, but it was, is the smaller building or the front building going to be used? Was that your first question? Yes.
There are 3 buildings on the campus. There's the church proper. The first building you come to as you're driving up Sunnyside Drive is the Christian Education Building. And then in the back is an annex. Those 2 buildings are the church is used just for the church use. The Christian Education Building is used for the Montessori school and for larger 12-step groups and crafting clubs and community interest clubs, basically the bluegrass music group. The back building is used for smaller 12-step groups. So we have 27 12-step groups, a combination of 27 12-step groups, community crafting clubs, and community interest clubs.
And you anticipate those uses continuing and not changing?
Yeah, we rent the property to them at our cost. So my job, I'm a retired accountant, so my job is to figure out how much does it cost to operate those buildings and then pass that cost along to all of the tenants.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. I hope that answered the questions. Great. Were there any other questions, public comment? Seeing none, I'm not seeing any hands. We will go ahead and do you guys have any more comments?
So the public comment, I was on my drive over here, I was thinking, oh, this is the same church that we had already seen. And what is their grand plan if we're going to keep on seeing them? So that kind of answers that, hopefully, that there's not going to be continued building and they're not going to build this giant structure in your backyard, you know. But the first time you were here, you gave a great presentation and you gave us the history of the Peach School and of your Montessori, and it gave us very insight and background. And so I appreciate that. And so I think I look forward to, you know, you finally getting this going. I know it's been several months or almost a year now, so.
Please.
My name is Peter Pachetti, also a neighbor. My question is, I'm still a little unsure about why we need the zone change. Yeah, it's difficult for me to understand the reasoning for that. And yeah, I just maybe some clarification from these folks if it changes the code for what it allows them to build or something like that, but just curious.
I think I'll have Brooke, if you don't mind, maybe elaborate just a little bit more if you wouldn't mind.
And this comes to those uses again, right? And what uses are allowed. So we have a primary, secondary, the schools. So when we look at those at K through 12, basically. So we don't have that classification. So that's why, even though they're doing a Montessori school, or that it falls into that daycare facility. That daycare facility is not allowed within that SF8. And so what it takes is that zoning to a PF. Now, as we look at that PF, is that PF appropriate for that underlying use, which is a church, which is an allowed use with under that. And then we would see these accessory of a daycare or potential school or this community outreach and some of those other things as being accessory to that underlying institution. So that's the reason why we have to do that. As they said, I think they looked at the school, and what they found is a real interest in younger age children who do not classify in our use as a school at that point. And so from the city's point of view, we would classify them as a daycare, and then that's why they have gone through this zone change. Now, unfortunately, we didn't pick this up the first time as it comes around. You know, it's always challenging to, as someone's trying to come in, understand a process is going through it tonight. There's a lot of steps and there's a lot of things in this and a lot of nuance to what this is. And so unfortunately that was missed the first time, or I think we may have seen this process go through the first time to do that, but we are trying to get it correct and correct with the zoning and then what would be allowed within that zoning. As they said, they don't intend to do building, but we have to look as though what is the appropriate. We will always, any commercial or anything that's not residential construction will always kick off that residential adjacency. So we'll always have some sort of either administrative or public hearing associated with that. So there'll be a further discretionary review. It wouldn't just go straight to building permit.
And just to elaborate on that a little bit, I think more for the residents, all of this, and any concerns that they might have or other uses that might be allowed under PF, and certainly potentially, this is a question to you, be conditioned on the project
Correct.
to not be used, right? Like you could actually condition the project that these are the only uses allowed under this.
So that discretionary review allows for conditioning of a project. That's also use or limiting use or mitigating for potential impacts of that use, right? So we have many ways that we can do that. It also is timing, how long we're going to actually say, usually we put 18 months, you need to pull the trigger in 18 months or this is no longer good. So it's not forever with the property. So there's several sort of backstop mechanisms that make sure that we're looking at the uses that's being proposed at that time and making sure they're appropriate to the surrounding uses that we have.
Right.
So in this, because of its situation, it will always trigger some sort of discretionary review.
Right. And again, I totally support the project. I just want to make sure that the residents understand kind of the process as they're going through these public hearings, that that is a potential, that could be a recommendation or a request even from the residents.
Yeah, I mean, an extreme example, a prison or something like that, right? If that was proposed, we would probably say we're not going to support that use, right? So there is a discretionary review that we have within that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just think some of the fears that the residents probably have, it reminds me of some of like, dare I said, like the Jacobs, where they just kind of grab an inch and an inch and an inch.
Sure.
And I'm sure the residents just don't want that to happen.
Sure, that makes sense. Please.
My name is Tacey Mosner, and I was wondering if there was going to be a traffic review. But if there's going to be a school, there'll be a lot of traffic, especially in the mornings.
Mm-hmm. And I know we did address that with the last one. Brooke, can you mention if there's going to be, if those triggers are going to?
So we have several triggers of where that is, or we can request that be if we do anticipate that we'd see potential issues with that. So we have, a traffic letter, a traffic study. There's several sort of levels. Initially we'd probably look for a traffic letter and verification that overall road impacts aren't going to be held, that we maintain levels of safety, the other traffic level. If it's determined at that time that those levels that they're proposing, it's hard for us to know until we actually have a use and the intensity of that use that they're proposing.
Okay.
So that would be looked at through that level and made and determined if a traffic letter, a traffic study would be required, or potential, offsite mitigation. There's a number of things that we can start to look at like that, right? Or additional lanes required, or a stop sign, or different things like that. It really depends on the use we get in. So it's hard for me to give you an absolute answer, but I can give you the answer that our engineering team looks at that, and they will make sure that the appropriate level of study is done for what is being proposed.
And that will be presented at Planning Commission on March 1st.
Not for this particular use of a zoning map amendment, because this is just for changing the zoning. So
they're going to go in for the zoning, potentially get approved for the zoning, and then they come back for the application.
And that's
what you
that
meant by the
further
3.
discretionary review. So once we know an actual use, the intensity of that use, what they're proposing to do, then we can look at sidewalks, we can look at road widths, we can look at a number of things like that. And then it will be determined by the engineers, what is the appropriate level of study that we need to look at with that.
Still frustrating to me. It hasn't changed in the last 30 minutes.
It's challenging. It really is, it's a 30,000 foot level, and this is where we are right now.
Right.
And there's the master plan just above that at 50,000. We're looking at a zoning of 30, and then we're going to start to put things on the ground, right? So.
Okay. All right. I think that we are good. I don't see any more questions. I think we'll go ahead and move along if you don't mind. But thank you again, Brooke, for being here. I think you clarified a number of questions that we wouldn't have been able to answer. Thanks. Luck with your project. Great.
Thank you.
All right, we're on to item C on the agenda, which is board, commission, committee member reports or announcements. These are limited to items that do not appear anywhere else on the agenda. Do we have any announcements?
No announcements at this time, Madam Chair.
Will do. I'm sorry. Abigail?
No announcements at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. Normally I do, but I don't this time. I will mention, if you guys don't mind, this is for the residents near the First Congressional Church as well, that we do have a project review form, which is available online under the Ward 5 NAB, and you're able to submit comments, concerns, different things for the planners to consider. We all complete those as well. So if you guys don't mind making sure to get those in within the next week or so, so that they have those for their review March 1st, that would be wonderful. Okay. And you guys do not have any reports or announcements, correct? Correct. Moving on to item D, which is future agenda items. Do we have anything that we would like? I know that last time, or in December, we'd requested for an RPD update. I think maybe if we could get a quarterly report on that, it would be nice to get it on the agenda.
Yeah, Gary Cecil for the record. Yeah, we did get it by email.
Oh,
And
that's right.
I can forward it to
I actually received it as well
everyone, yeah.
in January.
Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of following previously, I requested maybe if we could get a visit from somebody from the CARES campus, because, you know, there's so much been going on there. I know you, Carly, you took a visit there under a different organization, but.
Well, it's actually operated under Washoe County. It's
Oh,
no
okay.
longer City of Reno. So that might be a really good item for us to maybe just have a really brief update at our joint NABCAB, since that's one of the things that would fall under that purview. It's not.
Definitely ask them.
I don't know that it's appropriate for the NAB necessarily to request Washoe County departments to come, and I don't know. It's not really for me to say that it's appropriate or not appropriate, but this doesn't get done very often.
Sure.
Anything else from your list?
I just wanted to throw out just one idea. I know that we have a new NAB member coming next time, and maybe more in the future. And I'm really hot on more training. The more I learn through the process of the NAB, the more I realize I don't always understand things well enough. One of the things that I frequently get confused about is what rises to the level of a conditional use permit, a full conditional use permit, a minor conditional use permit, or that one is not required, and the level of public notification of those coming up for review. When do those cards go out? When don't they? Those questions keep coming up in my mind so many times. If there's any chance that someone from the city, maybe Lance Ferrato or someone like that, could come and give us a brief update on that, I would love to learn a bit more. I don't know about everybody else.
So Madam Chair, if I may speak, Abby Mayorga for the record. So that would actually fall under planning. But as for the learning opportunity, we can definitely connect with them and see if they have availability to either create or produce or show us where we can find this information to pass along to you guys, and then potentially present it at a future NAB.
You know, years ago, just to share, we did actually request that one of the individuals from planning came and just did a really brief presentation for us about specific items. And at that time, we were dealing with large development projects. So it was more about zoning and land use. But it might be nice to have those little refreshers, especially since we do have newer NAB members coming on board. And these are things that we review often. It's nice to have that. And I'm one that can really speak out of turn and probably give the wrong information. So that would be lovely.
Just one more final thing. There is a tremendous amount of interest in the Montage to meet Catherine Nance. Numbers of us didn't get a chance to go to the open house when there were the two candidates. And I know everybody is going to want to get a piece of her quickly, but at some time in the future, if there's a way we could, just as a NAB, meet her, maybe even socially as apart from in a formal session, we'd really love to meet her. I think. I'm looking forward to her starting and looking at the data that's there in the city great. And it should be very exciting. Thank you.
I just had Bryce Chisholm. I had a question. I think it was in the December meeting. I asked about the new apartments or condos going in at Grand Point and Mayan. And then I was asking about the Mayan and Avenida de Delanda apartments. And they were saying it's not going to create any traffic, but then there's 3 different apartment complexes going right in that small little area right there. So if we had an update on those, that'd be great.
To clarify, it was one of the presentations, correct? I do believe they.
Well, we were talking about the Grand Point and Mayan, but then there's also 2 other apartment complexes going right on the other corners or on the other side of the street light. But yes.
Okay.
Those didn't come to us. Why are we not all knowing?
I drive by them every day, so I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay, any other future agenda? Great. Moving on to final public comment. If there's anybody that had any final comments for the evening off the agenda. I don't see any hands. Moving along is adjournment, and this is for possible action. So, can I get a motion?
Bryce Chisholm will move to adjourn.
Bear, second it.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say nay. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you guys. Thanks for being here.